Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into maybe the most complex and personal frontier there is, your own brain.
Right.
This amazing organ, just what, 3 pounds? It's the engine of every single thought, every feeling, every memory that makes you, well,
The
you.
whole universe in there.
Exactly, like 86 billion neurons firing away, trillions of connections happening constantly. It's kind of mind-boggling when you think about it.
It absolutely is.
So our mission today on this deep dive is to peel back some of those layers. We want to unravel some secrets, maybe bust a few myths that just won't go away,
Oh, definitely. There are some persistent ones.
and explore its really astonishing capabilities, neuroplasticity, this thing called the default mode network. Get ready for some genuinely surprising facts, I think, and practical insights too, things that might actually change how you think about your own mind.
And that's really the goal, isn't it? It's not just listing facts. It's a journey into the brain's huge potential we often don't even realize is there.
Yeah.
We'll look at how it adapts, how it, builds your personal history through memory, and even how it works silently in the background to spark creativity. We really want to empower you with a deeper understanding of the very thing that defines who you are.
Okay, so let's kick things off by tackling some of those misconceptions you mentioned. I bet almost everyone listening has heard that we only use 10% of our brains. It's like everywhere, right? Movies,
It's
books.
a classic,
Yeah,
a total classic.
yeah.
But it's simply not true.
Right. I always suspected.
Think about it. If we only use 10%, then brain damage to, 90% of it wouldn't matter much, and that's clearly not the case.
Good point.
Neuroimaging studies, like fMRI scans, they let us see brain activity in real time, show that pretty much every part of the brain is active at some point. Different areas are constantly working together. Even for something simple like picking up a coffee cup, you need motor control, vision, planning.
So the whole 10% thing just sells the brain short, basically.
Completely. It totally underestimates how dynamic and active it is all the time.
So if we're using like all of it, does unlocking more brain power mean something else? Maybe making it work better, more efficiently?
Exactly. It's not about clipping a switch on unused parts.
Hmm.
It's about optimizing the connections, how those areas communicate and collaborate. And, that leads us to another big myth.
Which is,
The idea that your intelligence is basically fixed at birth, that you're either born smart or, well, you're not.
yeah, that's a heavy one. A bit limiting, too. Is that one busted as well?
It really is. I mean, sure, genetics play a role. They give us certain predispositions. But the brain's amazing ability to change, that's neuroplasticity we mentioned, means we can actually boost our cognitive abilities throughout our entire lives.
Okay.
So these myths, the 10% thing, the fixed intelligence idea, they really underestimate how dynamic and adaptable our brains truly are. It's not some static computer. It's constantly being reshaped.
Okay, neuroplasticity. You mentioned it, and I feel like that's where things get really interesting. Can you dive a bit deeper into that? What exactly is it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's arguably the brain's most remarkable feature. Neuroplasticity is basically the brain's ability to reorganize itself, to literally rewire its own circuits.
Wow.
It does this by forming new connections between neurons or strengthening the ones it already has. And this happens in response to everything: learning, experiences, even injury. It's this adaptability that lets us learn new skills, recover from trauma, and importantly, reshape our own habits and ways of thinking.
Can you give an example? Like, how does this look in the real world?
Sure. A fantastic example is the London taxi drivers. They have to memorize this incredibly complex map of London, thousands of streets, landmarks. It's called the knowledge.
Right, I've heard of that. It sounds intense.
It is. And researchers found that after they successfully learned it, their hippocampi actually got larger. The hippocampus is the brain region really tied to spatial memory. So that demanding experience physically changed their brains. It's a really clear demo of neuroplasticity in action.
That's incredible. A bigger hippocampus just from learning streets?
Yeah. It shows how experience literally sculpts the brain.
But I always kind of thought that level of change was mostly for kids. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. Does neuroplasticity slow down drastically as we get older?
That's another old idea that science has kind of overturned. Neuroplasticity absolutely continues throughout life. Adults can even grow new neurons. That's called neurogenesis, especially in areas like the hippocampus.
Really? New neurons?
Yep. Things like regular exercise, learning new things, a language, an instrument, even meditation can stimulate this growth. There was a study, I think in 2018, showing even elderly adults can generate new neurons. So the idea the adult brain is just fixed, Not really true.
So the takeaway is we're always under construction, essentially.
Pretty much, you're constantly shaping your own brain with what you do and think at any age. And that means you really can improve things like memory, focus, problem solving. There's untapped potential there.
Okay, speaking of memory, that's another huge one, right? I always pictured it like hitting play on a video file in my head, a perfect replay. Is that how it actually works?
That's a really common way to think about it, but it's not quite right. Recalling a memory isn't like playing a recording. It's much more like a dynamic reconstruction.
Reconstruction, what do you mean?
Well, each time you remember something, your brain actually pieces it back together from different fragments, bits of sensory info, emotions, the context you were in. And because it's being rebuilt each time, the memory you recall might be slightly different from the original event, or different from the last time you recalled it.
Ah,
Yeah, it explains why memories can feel super vivid, but sometimes they shift over time or details get a bit fuzzy or even, wrong.
so where do the hippocampus and amygdala fit in? I hear those terms a lot with memory.
Right, they're key players. Think of the hippocampus as like the brain's librarian. It helps organize memories, especially factual ones, and memories of events, episodic memories. The amygdala, on the other hand, is like the emotional highlighter pen.
Highlighter pen.
Yeah, it tags experiences with emotions. That's why events tied to strong feelings, fear, joy, surprise, tend to be much more memorable and vivid. Like, you probably remember your first day of school, right? Even if some details are gone, the feeling might still be strong because the amygdala tagged it as important.
Okay, wow. So if memories are being reconstructed every time, what does that mean for how reliable they are? Like for eyewitness testimony or even just remembering our own past accurately?
That's the really fascinating and maybe slightly unsettling part. It means our personal history isn't a fixed videotape. It's more like a living story that can be subtly edited by our current mood, beliefs, and experiences each time we tell it.
So my memory of an argument last week might change depending on how I feel today.
It could, subtly, yes. This reconstructive nature is also why things like false memories can happen, where people genuinely believe they remember something that never occurred, or even that frustrating tip of the tongue feeling.
Oh, I hate that. You know the word is in there.
Exactly. That's often a retrieval issue, maybe interference from similar memories. It shows memory isn't just storage, it's also about successful retrieval, which is an active process. It's a reminder that memory is powerful, but also kind of malleable and fallible.
That tip of the tongue thing feels like such a classic brain quirk. Oh, and the doorway effect. I swear, I walk into a room to get something, cross the threshold, and poof, gone. Mind completely blank. Is that just me?
Nope, definitely not just you.
Hmm.
The doorway effect is a real phenomenon. It seems like our brain compartmentalizes information based on location or context. So when you move from one place to another, crossing that boundary can act like a cue to sort of file away the thoughts from the previous room, making way for the new context. It's like closing a mental file.
So my brain is just being overly tidy.
Kind of. And that struggle to recall a name you absolutely know, that's often about retrieval interference, like we just mentioned. Other similar names or weak connections might be blocking the path.
It's wild how our own brains can trip us up. What about outside influences? Does stress or even our environment affect how well our brain works day to day?
Massively. Stress is a big one. Hormones like cortisol, released when we're stressed, can actually impair memory retrieval. They can sort of dampen activity in the hippocampus.
So being stressed really does make it harder to think clearly.
It absolutely can. But the flip side is true too. A positive environment, things like calming music, natural light, even just being organized can genuinely enhance focus and cognitive performance. And our emotions don't just affect memory, they shape perception itself.
How so?
Well, there was a study showing that when people feel fear, they perceive threatening objects as being physically closer than they actually are.
Whoa.
Yeah, it shows how the brain prioritizes survival, sometimes bending our perception of reality to keep us safe. So all these little quirks and influences, they show how adaptable the brain is, but also how it can be, subtly distorted. It's powerful, but not perfect.
It's amazing how much is going on under the hood, even when we feel like we're not really doing much thinking, like just zoning out or daydreaming. Is the brain still busy then?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That leads us to something really cool. The default mode network, or DMN.
Default mode network. Okay, tell me more.
So scientists discovered this network back in the early 2000s. It involves several brain areas, like the medial prefrontal cortex and posterior cingulate cortex. And the really interesting thing is when it's most active.
When is that?
Not when you're focused hard on an external task, but actually when your mind is wandering, when you're daydreaming, reflecting, thinking about the past or future, planning, basically when you're at rest mentally.
So my brain isn't off when I'm staring out the window.
Not all. It's often highly active in the DMN. And research suggests this network is heavily involved in things like self-reflection, understanding others, and crucially, creativity.
Creativity. How does daydreaming link to creativity?
Well, one study actually linked DMN activity directly to generating novel ideas. It seems this network allows your brain to sort of connect the dots between different experiences and ideas in new ways without the constraints of focused attention. That's probably why those aha moments often hit you in the shower or while you're out for a walk, times when your mind is free to roam.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah, the DMN lets the brain process experiences, integrate information, even work on problems subconsciously. It's why you can sleep on a tough problem and sometimes wake up with the answer. Your DMN was likely churning away on it.
So even when we think we're idle, there's this hidden engine working away, making connections. That's incredible.
It really is. It highlights that the brain is this powerhouse of creativity and processing, even when we're not consciously directing it.
Okay, I'm really getting a sense of just how dynamic the brain is. Can you give us some more sort of real-world examples of this adaptability and maybe that creative potential in action?
Sure, the adaptability, the neuroplasticity, we see it everywhere. Think about stroke survivors often. Through rehabilitation, they can regain functions that were lost. Healthy parts of the brain essentially learn to take over, forming new pathways. That's pure neuroplasticity. Or
Amazing.
musicians, they practice intricate movements for hours, right? Studies show they develop enhanced connections in their motor cortex, the area controlling movement. Even everyday things, learning a new language, playing a complex video game that's actively rewiring your brain.
So it's not just big events, it's the small, consistent efforts too.
Absolutely. And this adaptability isn't just for skills. It's key for emotional resilience, too. Think about cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT.
Yeah.
CBT works in part by leveraging neuroplasticity. It helps people identify and consciously reframe negative thought patterns. Over time, this can literally weaken the old neural pathways associated with, say, anxiety or depression and strengthen healthier ones.
So you're actively retraining your brain's emotional responses.
Exactly. And then there's creativity. Sleep is a huge one.
Yeah.
We know the brain consolidates memories during sleep, but it also seems to form novel connections. Paul McCartney famously said the melody for Yesterday came to him in a dream.
Wow, really? The whole melody?
Apparently so. And recent research backs this up. Studies show sleep can enhance problem solving by helping us link seemingly unrelated ideas. And daydreaming, driven by that DMN we talked about, that's prime time for creativity too. Letting your mind wander allows it to explore possibilities, what-if scenarios, without judgment.
So we should actually schedule time to daydream.
Honestly, it wouldn't hurt. This creative spark isn't just for artists or musicians, it's universal. You can nurture it by exposing yourself to new things, reading widely, traveling, learning, and yes, allowing some downtime for your mind to just wander.
This is all so inspiring. It really shifts the perspective on what our brains are capable of. So looking ahead, what are the big frontiers now? What's current research revealing, and what are the really big mysteries left?
Oh, it's an incredibly exciting time in neuroscience. We're seeing huge advances thanks to things like AI combined with better neuroimaging, like high-res fMRI. These tools let us map brain activity in way more detail than ever before, helping us understand, complex thought processes.
And things like Neuralink, brain-computer interfaces.
Exactly. That's a huge area.
Yeah.
The potential there is enormous, helping people with paralysis communicate or control robotic limbs just by thinking, and maybe eventually even enhancing cognitive abilities for everyone, though that raises other questions, of course.
Definitely.
And there's also really interesting, maybe surprising research into psychedelics. Substances like psilocybin, the compound in magic mushrooms, are being studied seriously now. Some trials suggest they might significantly boost neuroplasticity, potentially offering new ways to treat conditions like severe depression or PTSD.
That's fascinating. But are there still big unknowns?
Oh, absolutely. Huge ones. Consciousness itself. How does all this electrical and chemical activity give rise to subjective experience, to the feeling of being you? We still don't really know. The precise neural basis of complex emotions, why some people are just naturally more creative, how memory really works at the deepest level, lots of fundamental questions remain. But those gaps are what drive the research forward.
It feels like we've only scratched the surface. So bringing it back to us, to the listener, with all this incredible knowledge, how can we actually use it? What are some practical things people can do to harness this potential in their own lives?
That's the key question, right?
Mm.
And there are definitely things you can do. First, embrace lifelong learning to harness that neuroplasticity. Pick up a new hobby, learn an instrument, try a language, read something challenging. Keep exposing your brain to novelty.
So challenge yourself.
Exactly. And exercise regularly is fantastic for neurogenesis. Mindfulness and meditation also show benefits for focus and brain structure. For memory, don't cram. Spacing out learning sessions is much more effective. Use mnemonic devices, acronyms, visual imagery to create stronger memory hooks.
Okay, spaced learning mnemonics. What
Yeah.
about creativity?
Make time for that DMN to work. Allow yourself unstructured thinking time. Let your mind wander during a walk or just sitting quietly. Don't feel like you always have to be productive. Sometimes the best ideas come when you're not trying.
Give the brain some breathing room.
Precisely. And underpinning all of this, the fundamentals: get enough quality sleep, eat a healthy diet, and manage stress.
Hmm.
These aren't just wellness tips. They are crucial for optimal brain function, for plasticity, for memory, for everything we've talked about.
Wow, what an incredible journey we've taken today. We've really dived deep into the human brain, this just amazing marvel of adaptability, creativity, and sheer complexity.
Yeah.
We've moved past those old myths about only using 10% or being stuck with
Yeah.
the intelligence we're born with, and uncovered the real power of lifelong neuroplasticity, the fascinating way memory reconstructs our past, and even that hidden genius, the default mode network, working away when we think we're doing nothing.
Absolutely. I think the main takeaway is that our brain is far more powerful, far more adaptable than most of us realize. It's constantly rewiring itself based on everything we do. It can generate brilliant ideas seemingly out of nowhere, and it helps us navigate life's challenges with incredible resilience.
It really is empowering to understand that.
It is. So maybe the question to leave you with is this: knowing all this, what new potentials might you uncover in your own life? What could you achieve or become by truly understanding and, actively nurturing this incredible organ that shapes your entire reality?
A powerful thought to end on. Thank you so much for sharing all this insight today.
My pleasure.
And thank you, our listeners, for joining us on this deep dive. Keep exploring, keep learning, and stay curious about the amazing universe inside your own head. We'll see you next time.